Now we will move on to the part of the class where I will show you how to operate and navigate the Cisco operating system. To progress any further without having covered that will cause issues. So we need to, at this point, because the need has arisen, for me to show you how the operating system works and what the different modes are. So I'm going to go ahead and log into router 1 just by clicking on router 1. And I have previously erased everything that existed on router 1. So there are 3 types of memories that a Cisco router has. The first one is your RAM, or your random access memory. Your RAM holds what is called the running configuration, or the current configuration as it exists on the router or the switch. So the first type of memory is your random access memory, or your RAM, and it holds the running configuration. The running configuration, once again, is all the configuration that you have currently done on the Cisco device. Now, RAM is volatile, which means a RAM will not survive a power cycle. So if you have done a bunch of configurations on your Cisco device and you haven't saved them, they are just sitting there on the router right now in RAM, in the present moment. They are volatile. So if some reason the electricity goes off, or the router reloads, or the switch reloads, your configurations are gone. That configuration is called your running configuration. Running as in what is available or what you have done on the router or switch presently. The second type of memory a Cisco router has is your NVRAM, or your non-volatile RAM. Your NVRAM holds your startup configuration, or your startup configuration file. So for whatever reason, if you have saved your work from your running configuration to your startup configuration, that's what I mean by when I say when you save your work, you copy the contents of your running configuration to your startup configuration, or your NVRAM, you have saved your work. NVRAM is non-volatile. So for whatever reason, at the end of the day, if you turned off your router and went home, as long as you have saved your work to NVRAM from running configuration to startup configuration, when you come back in the morning, the next morning, and you power cycle the router, or you hit the on start button, your configuration will be loaded as it was left the day before. The startup configuration is the file the router loads upon startup. The last type of memory that the router has is your flash memory. Your flash memory holds your operating system. Now, for Cisco, the operating system is Internetworking Operating System. The name of the operating system is Internetworking Operating System, or abbreviated to iOS. Which is why, a little tidbit, Apple cannot use a capital I OS for their product. They use the lowercase I. Anyways, so when you have a wiped clean router, which means the startup config has been wiped clean, there's nothing in memory, or it is a brand new router. When you power cycle it up, or when you turn it on, you hit the on button, it goes to this wizard, which is called the initial configuration dialog, or system configuration dialog. And it is asking me a question. It is asking me continue with configuration dialog. Let's see what happens if I say yes. It asks me, would you like to enter basic management setup? Okay, let's go ahead and say yes. It asks me enter hostname. Basically, this is a wizard that'll walk me step by step and help me do real basic configurations by asking me a series of questions and having me answer them. This is not how we want to learn to configure routers. This is for people that are not taking this class. This is for people that are not sitting in on a CCNA class. Since you guys are, we're going to kind of avoid this because this takes forever. I am going to hit the Control C button to break out. And now it says press return to get started, which means press enter. And I see a router greater than sign. Now this prompt on the router or a switch, and right now I'm going to just keep saying router from now on, but for all Cisco devices this holds true, whether it's a router or a switch or an adaptive security appliance, which is the Cisco firewall and ASA. This prompt holds the same, or all these prompts hold the same for all Cisco devices. This prompt, when you see it says router and greater than sign, is your user mode. It is called user mode. Now user mode has very limited capability. We are going to avoid user mode from now on. You are not going to see user mode after this section of the class. The commands available on the user mode, or on user mode, we can use the help feature. Now let me define the Cisco help feature out to you. If I hit question mark, the question mark key, it will list all the commands that are available in user mode. Now, let's say I want to look at the show command. If I type in the letters SH, you see the two letters SH make the command show unique. No other command in this list has the first two letters SH. So here's a rule. The least amount of letters that you have to type to make a command unique in Cisco works. Once again, the least amount of letters that you have to type to make a command unique will work. So I never have to type in the whole command show. I can just leave it at SH. Now watch what happens when I hit the tab key. Here I go. It completes the command for me. So I could either leave it at SH or I hit the tab key and it will complete the command for me. It's a matter of preference. Some people always are hitting the tab key to complete the command for them. For the purpose of this class, I will be using full command, so I'll be making extensive use of the tab key. But when I'm doing my own labs at home or for you guys, just the least amount of letters that makes a command unique will work. So in this case, I could have just left it at SH. Now, if as SH I do a question mark, or I execute a question mark, it will show me all the commands that are available that start with the letters SH. For example, these two commands, disable and disconnect, are two commands that start with the letters DI or even DIS. If I type in the letters DIS or DI and I hit question mark, it will show me the commands disable and disconnect. So if I type in a bunch of letters and I hit a question mark, immediately after the last letter, it will show me all the commands available that start with those letters. Now, going back to show, instead of hitting question mark right after show, because the only command available with the letters SHOW in the beginning is the only command available is show. However, if I say space question mark, now it is showing me all the commands that come after the word show. It is showing me all the commands, all the subcommands for the command show. So if I say show, let's keep it simple, show clock, and I hit enter, the date's wrong because the clock on this virtual device has not been set, but it'll show me the clock. If I say, let's see, what else will work? Not much we have done. Show interfaces. It will show me all the interfaces that are available on the router, and I will be going through these commands soon enough. Now, as I said, user mode, you can't really do much other than we're going to be doing some basic level commands from a mode above this, so we're not really going to return to user mode. So this is the last time you're going to be seeing user mode in this class. We're going to move up a mode, and we're going to type in the command enable. Now, when you type in the command enable, you see your prompt change to the pound sign. This is called the privileged mode, or the privilege mode. Some people call it the enable mode. I might slip up, I will try not to and call it the enable mode at some point. But enable mode, privilege mode, priv mode are all synonymous. Officially, it is called the privilege mode. Now, the reason it is called privilege mode, and again, this little tidbit is not part of CCNA. It's a little bit more information than you need. When I just type in enable, enter, it takes me to enable level 15, which is super user, and I have all the privileges. Enable level 1 through 14, I don't think Packet Tracer will do it, but it does do it. So enable 1 through enable 14 are configurable. I want to stay in 15. So enable 1 through 14 are configurable. So if I have a bunch of people working for me, I, as their boss, can assign enable levels to each one of my employees, and when they log into the router using their usernames and passwords, let's say a certain employee, John, uses his username John and password Cisco and logs into the router. He will go to enable level, let's say 14. And enable 14, I have only given certain privileges. I have set it up so that enable 14 can only execute so many commands. This way, I have assurance as his boss that he can't use a command to mess stuff up really bad. This is just assurance for me. But as far as we're concerned for this class, we're just going to type in enable, or en will work just fine, and hit enter, and that will take us to super user, which is enable 15. Now, for the purposes of our class, we are, for the most part, going to do some show commands. So show space question mark will show you the listing of all the show commands. And I can use the space bar to scroll through these commands. And as you see, the options all of a sudden are a lot more extensive than they were in user mode. So in priv mode, you get a lot more options. If I just do question mark, you see I have to scroll once, as in user mode, I only had maybe 12 or 15 commands. Over here, I have a lot more options. So the commands that we're going to be doing for the most part from our privilege mode are going to be ping, and I will explain what this is later. Debug, I will also explain what this is later. Traceroute, also explained later. And telnet. As we execute these commands later on in the class, I will explain what they do and what they are. As far as configuration goes, you cannot actually configure anything from privilege mode. You can't do much from privilege mode as far as configuration goes. So we will have to move up one more mode so that we can actually make configuration changes. However, I have to show you, if you ever wanted to, how to get back from privilege mode to user mode. And the way we do that is the command disable. If I type in disable and hit enter, you see that I go back to user mode because the prompt changes to the greater than sign. Now, remember I said in Cisco, to negate a command, all you need to do is put a no in front of the command. Well, this is one of the exceptions to the rule. Technically speaking, if they had stuck to their own design, no enable should take you to user mode, but it doesn't work that way. You have to type in disable. So I'm going to go ahead and type in enable and go back to privilege mode with the pound sign as my prompt.